I love this Star Trek, the original series episode, even though Kirk's behavior is disturbing. I love Star Trek, the original series Season 1, Episode 12, The Conscience of the King, even though, and perhaps because Captain James T. Kirk's William Shatner behavior is disturbing. Written by Barry Trivers and directed by Gerd Oswald, The Conscience of the King sees Captain Kirk confront a ghost from his past to prove a celebrated actor named Anton Caridian Arnold Moss is the mass murderer known as Kodos the Executioner. The Conscience of the King is one of Star Trek's first glimpses of James T. Kirk's life before he was captain of the Enterprise. In 2246, a teenage Kirk survived a purge on Tarsus 4 where Governor Kodos put half its population to death to conserve resources for the remaining half. 20 years later, Captain Kirk learns someone is murdering Tarsus 4 survivors who can identify Kodos. During his investigation, Captain Kirk romances Anton's comely daughter, Lenore Caridian Barbara Anderson, before learning Lenore is both the murderer and a madwoman. Captain Kirk's behavior is disturbing in Star Trek's The Conscience of the King. The Conscience of the King shows different and darker shades of Captain Kirk's personality. Jim is hell-bent on proving Anton Caridian is Kodos the Executioner, but he is also distracted by his attraction to Lenore. Kirk grows cold and cruel as he forces answers from Anton, but it's Jim and Lenore's mutual seduction aboard the Starship Enterprise that raises red flags. Lenore may be charming and attractive, but she is only 19 at this point in Star Trek's timeline, while Kirk is in his early 30s. Star Trek, the original series The Conscience of the King, is a compelling psychological thriller and murder mystery full of scintillating performances. Captain Kirk's pursuit of Kodos the Executioner uncovers secrets and lies, and it's a provocative cavalcade of murder and madness. At its heart is the tragedy of a daughter killing to protect her father in a twisted display of devotion. Kirk himself is equally obsessed with the truth about Anton Caridian, and he all but crosses the line with the twisted teenager Lenore. The Conscience of the King is rarely hailed among the best Star Trek, the original series episodes, but it's a compelling and welcome break from starship battles and exploration. Captain Kirk skirts near madness until he's confronted with genuine criminal insanity. With odes to Macbeth and Hamlet, The Conscience of the King is an early example of Star Trek as a reflection of Shakespeare. Captain Kirk isn't his usual heroic self in The Conscience of the King, which makes it an hour of Star Trek, the original series I enjoy revisiting. I love this Star Trek, the original series episode, even though Kirk's behavior is disturbing. There are plenty of Star Trek, the original series episodes that leave fans thinking, debating, or shaking their heads. But few are as deeply unsettling, yet utterly compelling, as The Enemy Within. It's a divisive episode, and for good reason. Captain Kirk is split into two versions of himself, one good, the other evil, after a transporter malfunction. It's high concept, deeply psychological, and at times painfully uncomfortable. And yet, despite or maybe because of its disturbing elements, I love this episode. Why? Because The Enemy Within dares to go where few 1960s network television shows ever went. It takes a hard look at duality, leadership, masculinity, and internal moral conflict. William Shatner's over-the-top performance is meme-worthy now, sure, but beneath the theatricality lies a character study that still hits hard in today's more complex media landscape. Let's break it down. The core premise of The Enemy Within is that the transporter malfunction splits Kirk into two distinct versions, his kind, rational, empathetic, good self and his aggressive, impulsive, and libidinal evil self. It's classic sci-fi storytelling with a Freudian twist. Without his darker instincts, the good Kirk becomes indecisive and weak, while the evil Kirk, unhinged and dangerous, lacks moral control. Neither version can function alone, suggesting that both sides are essential to the human psyche, especially for someone in command. It's a clever concept, no doubt. But it's also chilling to watch. Shatner leans hard into portraying the evil Kirk as a wild-eyed, leering predator. One of the episode's most disturbing scenes involves evil Kirk assaulting Yeoman Rand, a moment that stands out for its shocking boldness, especially considering the era. That scene is uncomfortable for modern audiences, and rightfully so. It raises serious questions about consent, power dynamics, and how violence is portrayed on television. Even more troubling is how little fallout there is afterward. Rand is clearly traumatized, but the show quickly pivots back to the Sky-Fi plot mechanics and brushes the consequences under the rug. So, why do I still love this episode? Because it wants us to squirm. It wants us to feel the discomfort. The enemy within doesn't offer easy answers. It doesn't shy away from the horror of a man's darker nature being let loose, especially when that man holds immense power. In that sense, it was decades ahead of its time. Where other shows of the era might have ignored or minimized such complex psychology, Star Trek leaned in. It also says something profound about leadership. Kirk without his bad side is ineffective. He's too careful, too hesitant. At first, it seems like that should be a good thing, but Spock and McCoy both quickly realize the real danger. Without his aggressive instincts, Kirk can't make the hard calls. He can't command. The implication here is that strength, real leadership, requires a blend of gentleness and decisiveness, compassion and confrontation. It's an uncomfortable truth, but it feels real. How many of us have struggled with indecision, wishing we could turn off that inner voice of doubt, only to realize it's the fire of passion and risk that gets things done? Yet the most haunting takeaway is the idea that the evil Kirk isn't truly a separate person. He is Kirk. That part of him is always there, just usually under control. Watching Shatner play both roles reminds us that no one is wholly good or evil. We all carry conflicting impulses, and the measure of our character lies in how we balance them. That's a radical idea for 1966 television. It's still a radical idea now. Still, the execution isn't perfect. There are moments when the episode wavers, either slipping into camp or skimming over the weightier implications. The resolution, merging the two Kirks back together without lasting consequences, is a little too neat. Rand's trauma isn't addressed. There's a line from Spock near the end about how Rand should feel flattered, which feels shockingly tone-deaf today. It's a stark reminder of how much our cultural expectations and sensitivities have evolved. But maybe that's another reason this episode stays with me. It holds up a mirror not just to Kirk's psyche, but to the show itself, and to the 1960s culture it emerged from. We're not supposed to walk away from the enemy within feeling comforted. We're supposed to be disturbed. And we should be. The episode also highlights just how important the rest of the Enterprise crew is to Kirk's identity. Spock, McCoy, Rand, they all see what's happening and try to help piece Kirk back together. There's a strange sort of tenderness in their concern, even if it's wrapped in military stoicism. Watching Spock and McCoy debate the nature of the split, the science and morality of it, feels quintessentially Star Trek. It's heady stuff, and it hits harder because we care about these characters. We know Kirk, or at least we thought we did. Watching him unravel like this forces us to reevaluate everything we've come to believe about Starfleet's Golden Boy. And that's maybe the final reason I love this episode, disturbing as it is. It dares to deconstruct its hero. It's one of the first times in television where a main character isn't just flawed, but is split open, dissected, and laid bare. The enemy within shows us that Kirk's courage and charisma are only half the story.